Hello and welcome to another episode of the COVID Conversations. My name is Kyl Reber. This is a chance for me to have a chat to some people that I hold very near and dear to me. Some I have known for a very long time, some I have known for not as long, but I still really think everybody has a story. I'm learning that more and more, the more of these we do. And this story that we are about to hear is probably right up there with some pretty cool stories. I've known this kid, I call him a kid, but he's 28 years old now. I first met this kid when he was 5, which makes you feel very old. But in that time, he has gone on to, I'll put in a little bit of credit. He was CMA's first junior black belt, the age of 10, but then he moved on to some very interesting things. He's played rugby league professionally. He's played sevens professionally for Australia, and he is these days becoming quite an established videographer, doing anything from weddings to videos at our events to all sorts of things in between. He can do stuff with a drone that I wouldn't even know where to start. So I would like to mention a very warm welcome. He's in beautiful, warm Stanthorpe at the moment. He was complaining like a, I don't know, he was complaining like a wuss earlier about how cold it is. It's down to like 6 degrees or something here. But Samuel Caslick, how are you, my friend? Great to see you.
Good, mate. Yeah, like you said, it was a bit chilly this morning. Still got the hoodie on, but the sun's coming out now, so I'm getting happier as the day goes on.
He's in the sun now anyway. Stanthorpe actually gets a little bit of snow here and there, don't they?
Yeah, occasionally. I had a story once. I camped out in winter and woke up in the morning and my sleeping bag had frosted over and frosted like ice. And I woke up and I could hear the crunching of the ice of my top of my sleeping bag. I was like, well, better not do that again.
So I guess before we get on to the barbecue intro, I interviewed your sister earlier this week, which will probably, by the time people watch this, they would have seen her interview. You guys, we will talk about it more, but you guys have spent a lot of time out at Stanthorpe from a very early age. Your father was born and bred out there, and it seems to have just carried on, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. So the barbecue intro.
Yeah, I think part of my dad, he kind of.
Yeah, I got you.
Oh, yeah, you still got me?
Yeah.
Are you asking me the question or?
Yeah, I'm waiting for you to answer. Great reception. I said, so your family connection to Stanthorpe, it's now a couple of generations, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, Dad was obviously he always wanted to come back here. I think part of him. And then obviously when Charlotte met Louis comes from a cattle background. The pieces all came together and they bought the cattle property out here and kind of all played out pretty well.
Yeah, no, it's good, mate. There's a lot of worse places you could be at the moment. All right, so the barbecue intro. G'day, my name's Kyle. What's your name, mate? Tell me a little bit about you. What do you do?
Yeah, so currently, I'd say, long story short, I'm a videographer. Anything like you said, from weddings to events to commercial ads, stuff like that. Yeah.
And so let's go back a little bit, Sam. We were talking earlier. So you're one of 3 kids. You guys have had, I guess, sport and physical activity flowing through your veins from day dot. How was that? We'll talk more about what you've ended up doing with your life from a sport point of view. But the good thing I like is that it hasn't really defined you, because now you're moving into another field and being successful with it. What is it like growing up in a family of keen sports people? Was there some real competitions in the backyard, and did the odd game of touch get into something a little bit more heated every now and then?
Having a brother is always, always gets a bit heated.
Because you're the
But
oldest, aren't you?
yeah, and thankfully I was always a little bigger and faster, so he didn't get too many W's on me. Um, that was until my sister turned into a freak, and I sort of had to go back into the shadows a bit. But yeah, mate, ever since I was, I think I was about 5, I watched a Darren Lockyer playing on television, and I just said to my dad, I was like, well, I don't, whatever game he's playing, that's what I want to play.
Mm.
So next day, took me down to a rugby league field, and I didn't actually get out the car. I was too scared. I never, I was 5 years old, shy. Just saw the team environment, and I thought, nah, screw that. But then he tried again, took me down to Taylor Bridge Rugby Club, and jumped out and loved every second of it, and then played for the next 22 years.
Because you were a quiet kid. I remember you at training. You were, I mean, obviously, like I said, you were 5, and you were back in the days when we didn't have a kids class. So you were 5 years old training with adults. Did you, I guess, like you said, you were very quiet. It took a bit to get going. Was it just a case of just trying to find your groove? Because now you get out a lot, you travel a lot, you've played around the world. Was there just the thing, I need to do this so that I don't have time to be afraid anymore?
Yeah, I guess part of that. Yeah, I think just having to grow up quicker, I guess. But thankfully through martial arts, I was able to learn that respect element. Just something as simple as, and I've had this conversation with you many times, just that,
Mm.
that not walking in front of someone with a higher rank, something as simple as that, even to this day that I carry on. If there's somebody that I respect, and I always make sure that I plan my route wherever it's going, and to not step on their toes, and hopefully people that have worked with me or played with me have been able to feed off that as well.
Because so fast forward a bit, you went to high school in Brisbane, and then tell me what happened. So when most kids are, I guess at schoolies week and doing what they do, and doing that sort of stuff that we don't want to admit to. You're, on the other hand, getting all set up. Tell me what you did your first year out of high school.
So actually, I ended up leaving schoolies early because I had to I had to get on an airplane and fly to England. I had a trial with Warrington Wolves.
And that
I
was back in the Super League days.
Yeah, so I had actually had a couple trials lined up, but got off the plane. The player development manager walked me around the stadium. I thought, this is awesome. And then that night, trained with the boys, and then I said to my parents, and I said, I don't want to go to any other club. The boys are unreal, the club's unreal. This is where I want to be. So then played a trial game for him, just to kind of prove that I was a semi-decent player, I guess. And then then they offered me a contract just before my 18th birthday.
How does a 17-year-old kid from Brisbane end up? How did that come to be? How does a 17-year-old kid start playing with one of the Super Leagues sides in the UK?
I guess part of me always wanted to. I guess it's always any kid that plays footy's dream is to play footy professionally somewhere. It doesn't really matter where, but I mean, I think it was a blessing and a curse going to Brisbane State High. The team that I was a part of in my senior year, we, went on to win the premiership. We had 12 Australian schoolboys. It was regarded as one of the best high school teams in the world, or ever in that regard. So obviously we got a lot of attention. The boys got a lot of attention, but there were just players that were better than me in that team. And I'll be the first to admit that. They're out there playing for the Wallabies, and way higher standard that I ever would achieve at. I was kind of that player that just had to do his job to help the team out on the weekend. And when the season was up, it was kind of all these boys had all these offers everywhere, and I didn't even make a Queensland side at that stage, which I was pretty bummed about. So, you know, part of me kind of was, you know, neglecting union at that stage. And I had a shoulder injury, and they told me that I had to have a shoulder surgery, so I'd miss my whole next year. And then I thought, nah, screw that. I'm going to just rehab it. And an email came through from Warrington, and, you know, I just jumped at the chance. I didn't really have any other options, really.
Did you go over by yourself? Did your parents go with you?
Mum came over with me at the time.
Because
she stayed for
you've got dual citizenship, is that right?
Yeah. So my mum came over with me to help me settle in and make sure that it was somewhere I wanted to be. And thankfully, had some family over there as well. You know, just, you know, legend family from, you know, the greater Manchester, which isn't, you know, the working class people over there. They, you know, they work hard and, you know, live for football on the weekends, and that, you know, that sort of those sort of people. And thankfully I was able to move in with one of those guys. And
do you reckon you had to, I mean, like, again, look at the maths, like we've got kids in, you know, normally, generally speaking, kids at 17, 18 years old, waking up at 10 o'clock in the morning, not knowing, you know, maybe going to uni or just not even sure what they're going to have for lunch the next day. Whereas you moved over and you played over there for 2 seasons, is that correct?
Yeah, about 2, nearly three.
So you had to grow up pretty quickly, and we had we've spoken about it before. You said, like, sometimes living, you know, people will go, oh, living over in the UK can be like really cool, but it was also, you were really far from home. You probably, you know, you're seeing all your mates doing all this stuff back home, and here you are. Yes, you've got this high life, but you would have got pretty homesick and at times pretty down with that, or did you try to put it into perspective?
I mean, credit to the family that I moved in with. They were unbelievable. They took me in and didn't complain once. They, you know, they brought me in as like one of their own, and turned me into a massive Manchester City fan. So, which at the time was a good timing, because I think we ended up winning a couple of premierships from then on. So, I joined at the right time, which some people probably give me a bit of shit about. But yeah, all credit goes to them. And my mates that I met over there, they made it so easy. You know, the boys at Warrington welcomed me in, and they're still to this day some of my best mates. So yeah.
So then, what happened after Warrington? What did you do from there? So you made a little bit of a code switch.
Yeah, I started hearing about this game called Rugby Sevens, and I was thinking, oh, what's this? And then I heard that it was an Olympic sport, and then that little thing in your head where every kid, you know, shit, can I, you know, go to the Olympics for rugby? And then I thought, oh shit, I've got to give this a crack. You know what I mean? So yeah, went down that road, came back, and I spent the next, you know, 2.5 years pretty much just traveling the world, playing sevens for, you know, any club that would have me, you know. And these were, you know, anywhere from London, Amsterdam, Rome, you know, all over Europe. And I was able to stay with families that own the team, and I just lived with them for a month until I needed to go play in another tournament, and then I'd move house, and then I'd live with that family. And yeah, it was quite bizarre. But, you know, I wasn't earning any money at that point, nothing. I was just literally traveling the world, playing rugby sevens in different parts of the world.
And so you had a bit of a nomadic lifestyle, but it came to a pinnacle where I guess if you know, from a professional point of view, you did get to go in the Australian team for the sevens. How did that go?
Yeah. So obviously came back. You know, I think I was about 20, getting on about 24, 25, and I was like, shit, I haven't earned much money in the last 2 years. I've seen half the world, but earned fuck all. So I was like, I probably should start taking this seriously. And that's where I guess you came into the picture. You know, we sat down and we wrote down goals of where I wanted to be. You know, we had I think a 12-month plan that we ended up, you know, ticking all the boxes in I think 3 or 4 months. So yeah, I think one of them we wrote down like get into the Australian squad, and you know, we had that on our list in 12 months, but you know, we achieved that in, you know, I think 3 or 4 months.
Yeah. It was definitely a time where I got to see, and I guess gets back to what I was talking to you about pre-interview. There's certain families that I guess you look at and you go, why are those kids like that? You all your kids have always had a real high work ethic, especially when it comes to sport. And you were one of those people that I term as a robot. Like, Sam, lift that. Sam, do that. Sam, be here this time. I don't know if you actually did ever cancel or postpone a session. You were there doing a lot of the training because, like you said, if you want to get to here, you have to do this. Do you find that has now transferred into this videography stuff that you do? Because that started as a hobby and now it's just, well, it's escalated very fucking quickly, hasn't it?
Yeah, I guess that's, you know, credit to my dad there. He always said, ever from a young age, whatever we did, like if you're going to do something, make sure you do it properly. So I never really liked doing anything half-assed. If I was going to do it half-assed, I just wouldn't even bother. It would just be a waste of my time. So yeah, I guess now that I've transitioned into a whole different field, I've just been able to take on that same work ethic and, you know, getting up early and just still obviously keeping fit and stuff, but having that work ethic to learn that new skill. You know, I learned everything off what I need to know now off YouTube.
Yeah.
Watching people that are better than me, and I did the exact same thing when I was trying to learn rugby. You know, so yeah, just taking what I knew from, you know, the sporting days and now applying it now to videography.
And it's funny because it all crosses over, doesn't it? Like you do find these people that if they're good at one thing, then their field, usually they can transfer at least that work ethic into something else. And we'll talk about it later on, but you are obviously with that field, you know, videoing, like you said, events and that sort of thing. That's, you know, obviously you're really affected at the moment. But we'll talk about that later on. But now we know a little bit about you, young fella. Tell me something you're passionate about.
Oh, obviously, I'm passionate about. It's pretty obvious. I'm passionate about sport and videography and the arts and stuff like that. But I guess now that I've started to, you know, work on the family property and stuff like that, I've taken a really big appreciation to agriculture and you know, what farmers do day in, day out. You know, it's tough. So yeah, being able to actually step into their shoes and see what it's like more recently has been an eye opener. I think a lot of us take you know, people like that for granted. You know, they put food on the table, and I think it's been a really good eye opener just to start working in that field and really appreciate it.
Yeah, and I think I was talking to your sister about this a bit, like the situation of late with the drought and that sort of thing, and then people were talking about COVID. You know, a lot of the farming properties and that, they'll go, oh, COVID, this is nothing compared to what we've already had to go through for the last, you know, however many years, if not a couple of generations. So it's just another day really for a lot of families out there, isn't it?
Yeah, just, you know, every day, just keeping their head down, doing what they need to do, and stuff like that. And I guess that's why, you know, being out here doing that every single day, it's just been so good. You know what I mean? I haven't had to sit at home and do nothing. Yeah, I mean, it's good. So yeah, I guess something that a lot of people wouldn't know is that passion now for agriculture and
yeah, that's good, mate. What so you have travelled. I mean, like you said, you're at the ripe old age of 28. You've probably seen a lot more of the world, and you've probably seen it in a different sort of eye than maybe a lot of other people have. Like you said, you've sort of travelled on a shoestring budget and lived out of a suitcase. But travel is probably something that's big on there. But you know, if there's anywhere left to go, but what is on your bucket list?
Oh, you know, I've got so I could list stuff all day. You know, like anywhere from like climbing certain mountains to you know, swimming with whales. stuff like that. But I think now that I'm in that field of creativity and videography, I think my bucket list, my dream, I guess now is to really, follow a sporting team around for a whole season and put together a really high quality documentary.
Would there be a particular team that if you could pick any team, you'd want to follow that team?
I mean, yeah, I guess anyone who's just willing to buy into my vision.
Yeah.
If somebody, came to me and gave me free creative outlet and bought into what I was trying to do, I don't really care what team it would be, whether it's from a semi-pro, amateur, or professional level. It's just something that I really want to do.
Is there a particular?
I think I'd be comfortable in any sport, but rugby is obviously something. Rugby league, rugby union is something that I know a lot about, and I can resonate a lot with the players. And I think that's what brings the best out of me when I do film rugby players and stuff. Is they see me first of all as a player, so they're able to open up a lot more.
And do you think, and we've spoken about that in the past, especially when you've done the filming for us, because you have a bit of a martial arts background and you have a little bit of a knowledge of what to look for, do you find that isn't it an advantage to get the best out of it as opposed to somebody just turning up with a camera, having never stood on a field in their life? You know where to go, this is going to be good, so I'll get over here or something like that?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that, that applies to everything, martial arts, rugby. In martial arts, there's obviously certain things that in terms of respect that, videographers that wouldn't have filmed there before that wouldn't know of. Something as simple as maybe walking on the mats with their shoes.
Yeah.
Immediately when somebody sees that, everyone starts looking at that videographer thinking, what's he doing? Like, why is he here? So, if you buy into that culture, and really make the effort to where you are, where you're working, I think that it then reflects with how everyone there that you're filming, I guess, the content that you'll get.
And you said earlier, because one of the big things you've really taken a shine to and you're very popular for is your weddings that you do. And you've traveled overseas. What you've done ones in New Zealand, you've done ones in Bali, and gone and covered the wedding over there. So is there some things, like you said, if you show respect for what's happening, or is there certain things that you do differently at a wedding that you're really conscious of? Like, I've got to capture this moment, like your little checklist?
Traveling, no, not really. I think it's all about not trying to get too excited about the where you are, and just really just remember that it's not about you, it's about the couple. And with weddings, it's not, and I say this to anybody that comes and works with me on a wedding, 90% of the job is just showing up and being a good person. Nobody wants somebody there the entire day looking miserable, not talking to anyone. So that was one thing I learned really quickly doing weddings, was just being that person that every guest there can either come up and have a chat with, or, look at him and go, hey, he's actually really enjoying himself. He loves what he's doing. And then they just immediately, they just don't worry about you, because they're just like, he's there, he's doing a job, he's enjoying himself, I'm not going to bother him. But if you're acting like you're a burden on the situation, people are then going to, look at you at like, oh, man, he's not, you know what I mean? It just creates a situation. But so yeah, it's all different, I guess, depending on where I am. And I think just doing that little bit of research and talking to people that are better than me in certain fields, I've found that has really helped.
And you've always done that, like you said. I've spoken to people about this in previous interviews. It's like you said, you've travelled a lot to play, so you haven't expected to have every game in your backyard, because there's only so much you can do in Brisbane. You've made sure you pursue fields, like you said, you've researched yourself. You haven't waited for someone to come and show you how to do things. So do you think, like you said, that work ethic, is it something that you constantly are working to try to just get better, better, better. Like you were mentioning earlier, you and one of your business partners, you're now working on another stream, I guess you'd say, or another little business to try and go, okay, so if we can't do this, now we've got time to do this and we can cover this and get this better.
Yeah, 100%. Like when we lost probably 30 odd weddings this year, got cancelled.
It's a of work, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's that's your bread and butter. That's your income, stuff like that. Our biggest client, the University of Queensland, they pulled the pin on every event for the year. So you're talking that was our salary almost for the entire year. So we just had to adjust, go back to the drawing board and figure out, okay, like what are people still doing? What can we still do? And instead of sulking about it and stuff, we just really we got better, I guess. We zoned in on, we focused on our strengths and worked on our weaknesses, and created a new business, just really focusing on the commercial side. So for the next obviously 3-4 months while we're sorting this situation out, we've got this new business set up and we've put in all the back end work. So by the time things start getting better, we're already sorted. We've got the content, we've got the infrastructure behind it, and all the branding's on point. So yeah, it's just, I guess, like I was saying, just not taking a situation and trying to make the best of it as you can. We've all got extra time now, so that
sorry, it was something I was talking about earlier. It's about just reallocating your time, isn't it? So I can't do this, but I can do this.
Yeah.
And that's moving
100%.
into what we're that's moving into what we will talk about now. So the COVID stuff, you are obviously, like you said, there's that affected and that sort of thing of what you're doing. But where have you found, like you said, you found other ways to make it work and get things moving along a little bit better? We were talking also, like from a positive point of view, you're getting to spend a lot more time out on the farm than maybe you normally would. And I was talking to your sister about exactly the same thing. Is it like a little bit of a reset button? Like you can go out there and go, like you said, get your hands dirty, just do some work and just switch off a little bit and just move forward?
Yeah, 100%. I think just being able to come out here has enabled me to learn new skills as well. So following Louis around, him teaching me how to, use certain tools that I didn't know how to use, and completely have that element of, that like when you're editing and in that creative field, your brain's always on. It's extremely tiring. Like some nights when you're editing, you can be up to late hours and it's hard to switch off when you've got ideas in your head and you just want to keep going. But being out here, it's like when you're even just putting in a fence post or something, you've really got to do it properly, because if you don't, you just fuck everything. So just something as simple as that, you've really got to just forget all the shit that's going on in the world and just make sure you're doing whatever job you're doing that day properly. And it just makes you just forget about all the shit that's going on. And yeah, I've learned how to ride a horse, like something like that. I've learned how to fly FPV drones, which is, flying the drone through goggles and being able to zip through gaps and all sorts of shit like that. So, I dedicate certain times of the day to keep getting better at learning how to ride a horse, keep getting better at learning how to fly an FPV drone. They're two skills that I may have never have learned if it wasn't for this situation. And I think that, if people don't come out of this COVID-19 situation having not learned a skill, I think have just wasted this entire time, essentially.
Because I think like now we're into that real period of actual adjustment and habitual, habits are changing. What's something that what's something that you'll take away from this? Like, is there anything that when you get the all clear or something, is there something you'll do differently? I mean, like from a travel point of view, you've seen a lot of places. This is a question I've asked a few people, will you be booking a ticket as soon as possible to somewhere just to go, I've got to cross that off? Been meaning to do that.
No, not really. And I think that, like, I'm very fortunate going back. Obviously, you haven't been able to, see a lot of the world. And just being able to be at home and appreciate, where we are, and appreciate, the friends you've got around you and stuff like that. So I think when all this is over, I think, there's stuff that I want to do here first. My business partner Huey's a young fellow, so I think he's still only about 19 or 20. So, if any obviously overseas jobs come along, I'm more than happy to fling them off to him, because I know he'll be jumping at his skin to want to do that. And I'm happy now being at home and being with my friends and family and stuff like that, and being out here on the farm. And so I don't think when everything does go back to normal, I don't really want too much of it to change, really. Obviously, my work will pick up again, which will mean that I'll have to spend more time in Brisbane, but I'll try and remember how much being out here on the property makes me happy, and get out as much as I can.
Like you said before about allocating time, will you find that you'll, because you are a busy guy, has it made you sort of like, have you've had that chance to probably catch up on a lot of family time? Is it going to be something that you might block out more? Like you might have an opportunity to do something, you go, oh yeah, but Charlotte's going to be home for the weekend, or Jack's going to be around. I'll spend time with them over doing this.
We've kind of always been.
You've always been
it's
close,
the same
haven't you?
Yeah, and we haven't really needed to actually spend time together in order to feel like we need to spend time together, if that makes sense. And that's the same with a lot of my best mates. Like, I can see if I might not see one for a couple of weeks, but we'll catch up. And I know we've had these conversations before. Like you'll see a mate you haven't seen, and it's like you've been hanging out for the last month. It's like nothing changes. So, and we all know that from a family and friendship point of view. Everyone sort of knows that. When we are all able to hang out together, I think we'll be able to just in the back of our mind really sort of appreciate that, hey, we didn't get to do this as much as we wanted to the last 12 months, but really appreciate each other's company a little more.
So I guess the last question I have is something that probably a lot of people want to know, and maybe you can answer it once and for all, Sam. Who's the best player out of the three Caslick kids? If there was a backyard championship now, who'd walk away with less bruises and not as many tears?
I think I don't know, actually. I think, obviously I'm pretty confident in my still on my abilities and that. So
I was watching some very interesting banter between you and Jack on Instagram the other day. But that's
Jack's not got a shot. He'll be knocked out pretty easily. So we'll be it'll be down to me and Charlotte real fast. But I think if we're talking about tackling and stuff like that, I probably still have the strength on her. But Jesus, if it was a touch game, I'll be in trouble, I reckon.
You'd be gone.
Yeah.
You're getting a bit long in the tooth now, mate.
Yeah.
Mate, look, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. I think it's been a pleasure to watch you grow up. You were and still are, I think, that kid. And I use the word kid. I was using the word kid with Charlotte, even though she's 25. You are a kid that I think has always just been used to just working hard and just getting on with it and not wasting a lot of time. So I think you will be probably one person that might come out of this, or dare I say it, better. You seem to be allocating your time a lot more. You seem to be doing the best you can with what you have. So on that note, how does somebody get in touch with Sam Caslick if they want their wedding or any other awesome event filmed? How do they do that?
I mean, you can just I've got obviously social stuff like that. Reach out through email, through my Instagram and things like that.
What's
and then obviously
Instagram name? Are you Samuel Caslick or Sam Caslick?
No, it's just at Sam Caslick, and our new business is just biddle.au. So you can find those on Instagram and Facebook, and just if anyone's sort of interested in getting any content done up, they can just reach out.
Right, that is awesome. And guys, if you like what you've watched, which I'm sure you have, there will be previous episodes that you can go through and have a look at. You can give them a like, you can give them a share, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. And when we are out of COVID a little bit better, I'll be picking up where I left off with Mr. Caslick and making use of his studio, that maybe we can do some actual full-on podcasts. But Mr. Caslick, it's always been a pleasure.
Cheers, mate.
You look like you need a shave. Maybe get onto that, or you might need it out in that cold weather.
Yeah, I was hoping with that good light it might be all right, but yeah, and obviously not.
You look amazing.
I might jump in the shower
now. Nice one. All right, my friend. Always a pleasure, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you, guys.